So I made a little list of all my favorite games. I'm going to talk about my favorite things about the game and my least favorite things about the game. Just as a caveat, of course, most of these games are Nintendo Switch based. The PlayStation 5, against my better wishes, against my better hopes, did not have the best of years. In my opinion, it's, the releases were a little slim, and I don't play on Xbox. So yeah, even though the Xbox really doesn't have any games, I'm sorry. I'm just being objective here, all right? Roast me all you want in the comments, I don't care. But folks, without further ado, how about we get straight into our top 5 games of 2022, starting with number 5. Number 5, this one was a surprise to me when it first was announced and when it first released. I did not expect to like this game so much, especially because in my mind, Kirby games were always a kid's game. I always thought they were a little childish as far as art style and as well as gameplay, but boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. This game is challenging. And when I say challenging, it is challenging. At one point, I even called it the Elden Ring for kids because some of these bosses were actually, some pretty decent bosses to fight, and even some of the move sets that Kirby had kind of reminded me of like the dodge rolls that you perform in FromSoft games. What I really liked about this game is the diversity in different methods of playing the game. You can, of course, as you know, abilities, Kirby can suck enemies and take their abilities and use them against their own against the enemies. You can be a fighter, you can be a sword fighter, you can use bombs, you can use a boomerang, you can use a bunch of different stuff to attack your enemies. I also liked a lot the platforming. The platforming in this game is phenomenal. It is a 3D platform, much like Super Mario Odyssey. Platforming is phenomenal. I think the stage designs are some of the best in this game. I like the way the game is set up, the little hub area that you can go to and explore, play mini games. It's just a completely fun game around every single turn you make in this game. It is just a completely engaging game. It is really, really fun to play. It is beautiful. It is one of the best looking games on the Switch. Right off the bat, it's up there with Luigi's Mansion. It's up there with Breath of the Wild. It is up there with the greats on the Nintendo Switch. It is a beautiful looking game. Props to the developers. The art style is amazing, and not to give out too much of the story, but man, this story is intense. This is where like my prejudices when it came to Kirby games were completely destroyed, because my god, this story is intense. At one point, like, you're just fighting with like the equivalent of a black hole, of a Death Star, of Goku level threat. So it's just amazing. It was amazing. It's challenging. I had a lot of difficulty beating the final boss, not because it was unfair, but because it was really, really challenging, and I underestimated that villain. Things I didn't like about the game, not a lot. Really, honestly, not a lot. This is honestly one of my favorite games of 2022. I wish it would have gotten a lot more recognition throughout the year. It is just an amazing game, and I definitely fully recommend it. It is one of my favorite games on the Switch. Replay value. It has post game. It has everything that you can want from a game, in essence. Going on number 4, and there's a reason why I picked this specific Pokemon game over the most recent Pokemon game, Scarlet and Violet, because Scarlet and Violet just so many missed opportunities, so many shortcomings with that game, and they're shortcomings that I would not expect from a developer of this size, a developer with this kind of support, a developer with this sort of resources. Scarlet and Violet did not come to my top 5. Legends Arceus though, Legends Arceus did come in my top 5 for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, it runs way better than Scarlet and Violet. Of course, Scarlet and Violet is an open world game. It takes more resources from the Switch to just render the whole world in comparison to Arceus. Arceus is semi-open world in that you just go to certain areas, and those certain areas that you go from the central hub are sort of open world areas, so to speak. But besides that, the game just runs way better. It's just a lot more diverse with the battle mechanics, with the battle styles. The ability to capture Pokemon without having to battle them at all was a neat new mechanic. The music is amazing. I think the story is really enticing. It can get a little repetitive at times. It drags a little bit at times, but this is Pokemon after all. A lot of the stories in a lot of the games drag, but it is entertaining. There is a sort of threat looming in the distance that kind of like fills you with a lot of excitement and like always wondering, oh, what's next, what's next. Of course, the mass outbreaks were a new thing in Legends Arceus, which was really fun. I'm glad that they implemented still in Scarlet and Violet. I love just how easy it is to hunt for shinies, to look for shinies. They just pop up in the world, and I'm really upset that they did not include it in Scarlet and Violet, the audio and visual cues, because some of these new Pokemon, their shiny variants they're just, you cannot differentiate them from the normal color. So it is a little disappointing, and that's why Scarlet and Violet is not in my top 5. But we're not talking about Scarlet and Violet, we're talking about Legends Arceus. I think the art style is amazing in this game. I think they did a really cool thing with, you know, making this game essentially you're basically starting out and making the first Pokedex ever. And I think, you know, tying some classical Japanese art styles in there with you know, you actually grabbing a paintbrush and like jotting the Pokemon in your Pokedex / notebook. A lot of the graphics, the UI is in that sort of a kanji scripture sort of style, using brushes and like old school ink. I'm sure if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a very relaxing game. Now, what I didn't like about this game, of course, is just how repetitive it can become filling out the Pokedex. I said it's a cool concept, but the way they implemented it became really old, really fast. I think that's one of the only things I didn't like, because even the boss fights I enjoyed. I think it's a really cool mix up to the formula of Pokemon and fighting bosses, defeating bosses. There's no actual gyms in this, but there's still sort of like area bosses that you got to defeat. So in essence, you still got some of the traditional mixed in with some of more of the new stuff in Legends Arceus. It is a fun game overall. It runs really well. I mean, all things considered, this being a Switch game and of course being a Pokemon game, but I think if they would have given Legends Arceus more support for DLC, more support, and really kind of like spaced out both releases between Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, I think Legends Arceus would have probably shined a lot more and not been overshadowed by Scarlet and Violet, because it is a good game, it is a great game. And I think if Pokemon goes back to the drawing board, I hope they still bring back some of the Legends Arceus mechanics that really worked well, because it's a shame that a lot of them were not in Scarlet and Violet. But Legends Arceus, top 4. On my number 3, I got Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 in number 3. What a coincidence. The Splatoon series, I'm a newcomer to it, and it really caught me by surprise. I didn't expect that a Nintendo shooter would really be this fun, and Splatoon 3 is more of that funness. In essence, it does feel like it's just building on top of what Splatoon 2 already did and made it a little bit better. You can't go around with Splatoon art styles. It's just a very unique IP. It's a very unique art style, not to be redundant, and the mechanics work really well. I think the shooting is really fun. It's something that I did not expect from a Nintendo IP, you know, to Nintendo being able to actually put out a good shooting game. But there are a few things that I think it didn't do very well, which of course kind of makes it shoot itself in the foot with a machine gun. The online is terrible at times. A lot of the dropped connections are pretty abundant. They happen often. It got really old really quickly, and it's one of the reasons why I dropped the game in the first place, just because the internet connections, the communication errors just became too much to handle. Like it would sometimes take 5 minutes to even get a match started. So it was a little unacceptable on my end. But besides that, the game is just really fun. It's just hours upon hours of multiplayer fun. The story is really funny, is really endearing. I think it's one of the best parts about the game, the campaign mode. So it's really fun. It's a really fun game. I think it's gonna have a long shelf life. It's gonna be a game that's gonna be played for many years to come, until of course Splatoon 4 comes around, but hopefully that's not until the next generation of the Nintendo console family. On my top number 2, and this is a surprise surprise entry. Surprise entry. I did not expect this to be my top 2, but it's Xenoblade Chronicles 3. My God, I bought the game yesterday. Now hold on, I've been playing the game for a long ass time now, between 5 to 7 hours into the game. Now I know that's not a lot, but just based off those first 5 hours, I can already tell you I'm gonna love this game. It is really fun. I did not expect to really enjoy the battling system. That's one of the things that kind of put me off from previous Xenoblade Chronicle games. Let me just go back a little bit. This is my first Xenoblade Chronicles game. I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles. The first one, the second one, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I've never played any Xeno game, and I'm kicking myself for not trying out this series sooner, especially with how hard it is to find Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in a physical edition right now. But it is fun, it is enticing. I'm not hating the voice acting as people say I would get tired of. It's not that bad as people made it out to be. They're all British in it, so I'm just enjoying the game so far. The story, the characters are really endearing, they're really charismatic. I'm liking the battling system. It's really not that hard to understand. The leveling up is pretty fun. It's just it made me really appreciate what a good JRPG can be and why people really like JRPGs. This is a very fun game. Not only that, it is a beautiful game. It runs okay. It's a Switch, so I think it doesn't surpass 30 FPS, but it maintains 30 FPS for so much. I mean, as far as I've been playing, and that's a big thing. Performance to me is one of the biggest things when it comes to Switch games, and that's all it's gonna matter to me. I don't care much for graphics, honestly, unless they're, offensively bad. They just look terrible. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 just runs fine, and not only that, it looks pretty amazing. I mean, the lighting effects are pretty cool. The water looks amazing. Like all that sort of stuff that I really don't care for, but I know some people really do care for, they're all there. And it's amazing that it's running on a Switch. It just looks amazing. It looks beautiful. You see, it has its graphical limitations, but still, it is a very pretty game. The open areas look pretty nice. There's no dips in quality. There's no dips in performance that I've experienced, and I'm liking it so far. My only gripe with this game so far is the repetitiveness when it comes to the voice lines. Because I saw a review saying that this is kind of like infamously characteristic of the Xenoblade games, where characters repeat lines over and over again, especially during battles. And they said that they kind of think that the developers do this on purpose to just get a kick out of people. But I think that's my only gripe so far. There's a lot of dialogue, of course, but it hasn't gotten too overbearing so far. Great game, beautiful game. Great battling system, runs amazing. Just no wonder it was nominated for Game of the Year. Just amazing game, and it deserves all the praise. And for my top number 1 Game of the Year, and this is not going to be surprising because of course it won Game of the Year, Elden Ring. Elden Ring, my only PS5 non-Nintendo Switch game on the list. Jesus, man, if you haven't heard it by now on why Elden Ring is such a great game, you're living under a rock. It is the game of the year for a reason. Beautiful art style, beautiful art direction, music just amazing. It's not overbearing. The music is one of the best parts about Elden Ring. It is so succinct. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. All right, I'm an ESL student, so treat me with care. It's not as overbearing as, for example, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Even though it has amazing music, it can be overbearing at times because it's just blasting all the time. Elden Ring does it in such a subtle way. It's amazing the way that certain audio cues come in, music comes in at times just like underneath, and you don't expect it, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, now I'm fighting a troll, a humongous troll. It is an extremely challenging game. It is a very challenging game, but it's not an unfair game. There's so many ways for you to succeed at beating this game. It's a challenging game. It's a FromSoft game, so don't expect for it to be a cakewalk, which I do appreciate because that adds so much enjoyment to any kind of playthrough. You actually overcoming challenges. There's so many ways to play the game, so many ways to build yourself up in the game, so many weapon types, so many approaches to battling. Honestly, it is a beautiful game. It is a beautifully developed game, beautifully designed. It has so much replayability. The bosses are some of the best boss designs I've ever had. You know, the privilege of battling privilege. Relax. It's an amazing game. It's an amazing game. And there's not much I can think about that I did not like about the game. It's a great game. There's a reason why it won Game of the Year. And there's a reason why it's my top #1 game of 2022. But folks, you let me know what are your top 5 games of 2022. Do you think I'm crazy for not including Scarlet and Violet? Do you think I'm crazy for including Legends Arceus? Do you disagree with some of my picks? Hey, this is all subjective at the end of the day, so all and any opinions are welcome. Of course, be respectful, or I'm gonna have to ban your ass. But folks, I've been True Fernie. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs down, because every single bit helps. Links to my socials are down below. Please make sure to follow me on Twitter, where, hey, if it doesn't explode by next year, I'm still gonna be there wasting my time. Of course, make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I try and stream pretty regularly, but it's been a little bit tough. We're getting back into the swing of things. You know, I just got a lot of projects. I got my Spanish channel linked down below as well. I just started a sneaker channel as well on YouTube, which is one of my other passions, sneaker fashion. You know, besides music and video games, it's fashion. It's always been. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to that as well. But most importantly, please make sure to join our Discord server, where we talk anything and everything gaming, anime, TVs, movies, anything that might interest you as my viewer. If you're listening, if you're watching this on Spotify, make sure to subscribe, to follow our podcast, search and report. Please. I would greatly appreciate that. But folks, please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate at the end of the year. Happy New Year. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Yo, we're still getting sick out here, so take your precautions. All right? Tell your loved ones that you love them. Tell that you care for them. Our time here on Earth is very limited, so just be aware of that and make the most out of it. All right? All right. Love you. Peace.